My name's Kraig Birchfield. My family and I started at Hell's Chapel when I was in 4th grade. We were there the whole time. My dad was serving on the board at Hell's Chapel when he passed away. And my mom and I made the transition here to Crossroads when Crossroads opened. And I was a senior in the youth group at that point. Crossroads has been my home church since I can remember, and has impacted my life in a lot of ways. Throughout the years, since I've been in ministry, we've been out of ministry a few times, and we always end up landing back here. In fact, we were here for 4 years in between youth ministry and preaching. My wife and I served heavily in the youth group under Kit Dotson and Andy McNeely. And during that time, I also served on the board as a deacon. This always feels like home. This is just where we gravitate to when we're able to be here in East Tennessee. Curtis he had been at Hell's Chapel for years before I came along and met him, and he was very impactful in my life. In fact, when I felt my call into ministry, it was at a week of his church camp right after I'd graduated high school. And I'll never forget the night that we were sitting up on our own mountain getting ready to worship. He was trying to prepare us for worship, and I couldn't have even told you that night what he said, because that entire time God was telling me I needed to be doing what he was doing. And his impact in my life has been, indescribable in some ways. He has always been someone I've looked up to and I've always respected. I always feel like I could call and ask questions if I needed to. But he was that person that we felt like we could joke around with, we could have a relationship with, but he was so impactful in how he led things as well. Clint has been, probably even more so than Curtis, has been the most impactful. I would consider him one of my mentors. He was the one that planted the idea of ministry in my head the first time. We had just finished up a teen choir performance, but he looked at my best friend and said, "You need to consider ministry," and then turned and looked at me and said, "So do you," and I laughed in his face at the time. Because I was a shy kid. I didn't want to be talking in front of people. That was not me. But Clint, my dad died when I was 15. We were on vacation in Pennsylvania, and Clint drove overnight to be with our family while he was still in the hospital. And from the time he passed, Clint kind of took me under his wing and just kind of mentored me and made sure I was taken care of. Clint and Curtis as well, both just have always seemed to look out for me and be there when I needed. Tempa as well. I mean, I'll never forget, we were in Mexico my senior year of high school. Right after graduation, we'd gone to Mexico for a mission trip, and Tempa had gone with us, and the seniors were telling our goodbyes, and I got to Tempa and I said, I'll never forget, because I didn't mean it the way it sounded, but I told Tempa that teen choir was a pain the whole time. And what I meant was, while it was a pain, the practices and everything, but the way she handled it and the way she would put it all together was just very impressive and fun. It just wasn't always a fun process to get there in the beginning, and it came out the wrong way, and everybody had a good laugh out of it, but I'll never forget the impact she's had. We moved back here. My wife and I got married in February of 2010, and we moved back here to my mom's at August of 2010, and we were here until August of 2014. During that time, Kit was student minister when we first got back. We immediately jumped back in. That was right before the new student building opened, so I helped Kit getting the student area ready to go right after that building was built. But we served all 4 years that we were here. We served in the student ministry. I don't remember exactly when. I think it was probably a couple of years that I was on the board as a deacon. That helped me for ministry purposes probably just as much, if not more, than talking with Clint and talking with Curtis and with Kit, because I got to I've seen it from both sides now. You know, I've been on the minister side of it, and I've been on the lay leadership side of things, and just the processes and the prayer and the discussion side of things. And just, I wouldn't say it was an eye-opening experience, because I had served in ministry before that, so I had been in board meetings and been in those decision processes. Being on the other side of it, where you actually have a vote in things, kind of was an eye-opening experience in that sense. I learned just as much ministry-wise from that experience as I did from anything else. I knew how to put a sermon together. I knew how to do that. It was the leading and the leadership side of things that I probably learned the most from in that experience. It was during that time of serving in the youth ministry that I actually got to do my first baptism at the church. First baptism ever. I had been preaching one night in youth group on a Wednesday night. Get here the next Sunday morning, and Andy McNeely calls me over and introduces me to a couple of girls that are getting ready to get baptized. And I was like, oh, that's awesome, great. And he introduced me to him, and the younger one, he said, and she wants you to do it. I'd never even talked to this girl. I mean, I knew I'd seen her in youth group, but I didn't know who she was at the time. I was like, okay. And he's like, well, she made her decision to get baptized while you were preaching the other night, so she wanted you to do it. And that's probably my favorite memory of here at Crossroads. I got baptized at Hell's Chapel, but just about everybody from Hell's Chapel that I knew moved here to Crossroads, and this is where my faith developed more than anything. Now, I wouldn't say I always held that faith. I had to go through some struggles with it on my own. But this was really the place that I learned what it meant to follow Jesus and what it meant to go into ministry as well. But there's so many people here that have impacted my life in one way or another, and my wife's life as well. My wife was a preacher's kid, so she grew up knowing the ugly side of church at times, and just being able to be here and to get to know people and to share life together. One of the things that we were able to do when we were living here as well is we led an adult small group for about a year. And anytime we're back here, we still see those people and get to, it was almost like we haven't missed a beat since 2014. And it's just, there's just something about this place that feels like home.